Hey, you. Yeah, you. I'm Dozer of the Such Good Shoot podcast, and I just want to tell you how excited we are to be part of the Johners Podcasting Network. It is home to many great wrestling podcasts, such as Wrestling with Johners, Turnbuckle Arms Podcast, Rope Break, our good buddy Whaddya Say with DDJ, The Call Up, and many more. If you want just some of the best wrestling podcast action, make sure you just go to wrestlingwithjohners.com and check everything out. So till next time, I've been Dozer. This has been Such Good Shoot, intoxicatingly entertaining.
The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com.
Attention wrestling fans. You're now about to listen to the band coming down the aisle from the main streets of South Elgin, Illinois, with a microphone in his hand and questions on his mind. This is Whaddya Say with DDJ.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 50 of Whaddya Say with DDJ. As always, I am your host, DDJ. Yep, we've hit the big 5-0, and can't believe it's been almost a year since I started this show. And I want to once again thank everyone who has listened to one episode, listened to all 50 episodes, or some number in between. I'd like to also thank all the wrestlers and personalities that have been a part of this show. To go through everyone would take a long time. And I mean, if you want to watch any of the old episodes, just go to wrestlingwithjohners.com and find my show on the page there. And that'll take you to my show's page where I have access to links for all the shows on YouTube as well as Apple and Spotify for all past episodes. So thank you. Going into this week's episode, my special guest this week is the Manimal Chip Walker. Who wrestled recently at the CCW show back on June 12th. And I hope you all enjoyed the show. So grab your drink, grab your snack, get comfy, and kick back and relax and enjoy episode 50 of Whaddya Say with DDJ. And my guest this week, the Manimal Chip Walker.
Hello there, wrestling fans. It's John Bolt, owner of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, and you're listening to Whaddya Say with DDJ.
Okay, we are back with another episode of Whaddya Say with DDJ, and joining me this week is someone who I got to meet at the last Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show, which as of this day we're recording this, which is Thursday, July 15th, is available on the High Spots Wrestling Network and soon to be coming on Amazon Prime, Fight.tv, and Powered for TV. Really cool gentleman. He is known as the Manimal Chip Walker. Chip, how are you doing this evening?
Good. I appreciate the intro. They're really, working me in. I like it, so thank you.
Hey, man, like I said before, I really enjoyed getting to talk to you at the show. I consider you a friend, so I try to take care of my guys. So
Awesome.
So let's get right into it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see on the bottom of the screen. You can follow Chip on Instagram at The Party Manimal and on Facebook at Chip Walker. So get right into it. Chip, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask usually every guest on here to lead it off. How did you discover professional wrestling?
So my sister's friend's cousin was just doing stuff in like the local scene. So she kind of got me in contact with him, and then just kind of through the grapevine of communication, ended up hooking up a couple people, and that's how I got started.
Now, were you a fan before? Like, did you watch it on TV before you got into it, or did you discover the actual pro wrestling before you actually started watching?
No, I've always been a fan. Always loved it.
Now, how did you discover like on TV? Like, what did you watch back when you first like discovered pro wrestling on TV?
So I remember just being a kid watching like the WWF at the time, like those pay-per-views, with my dad, things like that. And then as I got older, got introduced into more like ECW and things like that. Actually got to go to a pay-per-view at ECW, so that was kind of cool. I was like third grade, so Of course, everything was chanting had to be edited, so my dad didn't yell at me. But yeah, it was I always kind of been a fan.
Right. Now, which, if you don't mind me asking, because I've been to a couple ECW pay-per-views myself. I was a little older, and stuff. Which one did you get a chance to go to?
It was the Anarchy Rules one out in the Odeum out in the Chicago area.
No kidding. I was there for that.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was, I think I was like 4th row or something from the ring.
Oh, yeah, we were first row, opposite side of the entryway. So, when Mike Awesome's powerbombing people through tables, it was right in front of us and things like that. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I went to the other pay-per-view they did, the November to Remember 2000, and I think I sat in the general area where you sat, because I sat front row opposite the entryway for that one. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, ECW is a good time. So, so when you first started watching professional wrestling, who were some of the guys that you kind of were drawn to?
I was always like a big Shawn Michaels fan growing up. I mean, sure everybody was.
Mhm.
But as I kind of started watching more, Kurt Hennig was one of my favorites. And then once like Kurt Angle came around, because I grew up wrestling, I was like, oh, that's my guy right there. He's a wrestler too. And so, I was always drawn to the Kurts, I guess.
Cool, yeah. And actually, kind of like having talked to John Bullard, who's a good friend of mine, and he gave me some, like, when I first, when it was first announced that you were coming to CCW for the June 12th show, when you were originally slated to go up against Mr. 3% Jonathan Hudson, which we'll get into that a little bit later. I was asking because I had never heard of you, but I always, like, when he brings some new guys in, I always go to him and I'm like, hey, tell me a little bit more about this guy, or where can I see some stuff? And John had nothing but good things to say about you. And he said someone that, like, don't take him lightly. And like I said, after, seeing you in action, I definitely can see. And I want to ask you, because you mentioned Kurt Angle, did he have an influence on your ring style? Because I kind of got a Kurt Angle-ish vibe from you.
Yeah, a lot of Kurt Angle, a lot of like Steiner brothers from back in the day.
Yes.
A lot of more of that shooter style. I really appreciate the kind of the craft work that they put in and the things that they were able to take from like the amateur scene into the professional scene. So a lot of influences there.
So okay, so you mentioned the Steiner brothers, and this is a discussion I've had with a lot of friends on here, and I kind of want to get your take on this, because you're one of the first people I've ever interviewed to bring up the Steiner brothers. Huge fan of them, back in the early 90s, when they were like in their prime and stuff. I've always said that I feel if you had taken early 90s Scott Steiner, like his wrestling ability, and combined it with the Big Papa Pump character, he would have been an all-time great. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, yeah, with no questions. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, yeah, just because that Big Papa Pump character was just phenomenal, and just imagine if he had half the ability that he had back in the early 90s and stuff, just he would have been an all-time great.
Oh yeah, with that athletic ability and then the power that he just brought, and I mean his math was always great too. So I mean, you can't go wrong there.
Right. So okay, so when did you decide? Like, about how old were you? Like, what time frame are we talking about when you decided that professional wrestling was something you wanted to get into?
Probably since I started wrestling at 4. I think just kind of being on the mat and then watching on TV is always something I've wanted to do. Like, hey, I pick people up on the mat. I could do that in a ring, or kind of get out there and do a lot of those moves. I felt like I was able to do that too. So that's just something I think, kind of growing up watching, like I said, plus all the amateur stuff, I think it was just kind of something I've always wanted to do.
So you had mentioned that you were an amateur wrestler, and I believe that is also a first on this show. And I wanted to ask you, because it's something I've always kind of like was intrigued by, and that was the fact that, like, being an amateur wrestler, like, how big of I guess, like, for lack of a better term, call it a culture shock was it for you coming from the amateur ranks to like your first day of professional wrestling training?
I don't think it was too bad. Kind of after that first day of just taking bumps and learning how to bump and keep myself safe. I think kind of once I got over that, it was pretty smooth sailing. A lot of the moveset and things that we worked on, it seemed to come natural. I think one of the biggest things was like just tying up. The way you tie up in wrestling is a little different than you tie up like amateur wise. So kind of kind of being able to adjust, like, okay, when we tie up, it's same arm, same leg, whereas amateur, it's opposite arm, opposite leg. Because if you go same and
Mhm.
same, guy's going to shoot and take it down. So kind of learning the ebbs and flow that way. I think the biggest thing was just psychology, being able to get into the ring and telling a good story. You want the fans that are there that have paid to come see you, be invested in you, be able to understand what's going on, but also someone that maybe just watches highlights or sees a quick clip of you, they should be able to see the story that's being told as well. So kind of figuring out that ring psychology and kind of what goes into a good story and into a good match.
And and as someone who's been a fan for a little over 30 years now, I really appreciate hearing that, because I know, and this is something that a lot of like the traditionalist wrestling fans or the old school wrestling fans have an issue with when it comes to today's product, is that it's, it seems like storytelling is becoming more and more of a lost art. So it's nice to see someone such as yourself that's really big on storytelling still. Do you feel like storytelling is becoming a bit of a lost art in the world of pro wrestling?
I feel like it. I feel like that it's a lot of, you get a lot of matches with a lot of very athletic people. They do stuff that I can't do or imagine to do. And
Mhm.
so it seems like it's a lot of like just big spots over and over again. And, you know, to some crowds, some niches, that's fine. But to me, I like to keep that old school kind of style, be able to tell a story and, have people invested in who I am as a performer, as my character, help people get invested, whether it's good or bad, into the person I'm wrestling, because if they're invested in them, they're going to be invested in me if that's who I'm working for the night. So just kind of getting everybody into it. I think that's ultimately what's more important, not necessarily that I can go up and hit a 450 or, do something crazy that's just to do something crazy.
Mhm. And don't get me wrong. I love a good, what like some people like to call a spot fest, or a super kick party. I think there's a place for that in there. I'm a guy that I believe there's a place for every style of wrestling. Like I
Exactly.
can enjoy, a traditional, old school wrestling match with good storytelling. Like one that's laden with high spots, one that's a comedy wrestling match. Even to a bit of a certain extent, the hardcore, death match stuff. I believe there's room for everything when it comes to pro wrestling, but it's just, yeah, I don't like how it seems like, storytelling is really kind of fallen by the wayside. And that's one of the things I really like about what John's doing in CCW, is that like he's telling stories. Every match has a story behind it. We talk about, again, we'll get into this a little bit later, the you having to prep for, someone only to, find out that he wasn't going to be medically cleared and going into someone else, but yet, the story from your original opponent still carrying over. And I definitely want to get into that a little bit later, once we kind of get up to that point. But if you, let's go into like your training and stuff. Where did you go to train?
So I train out into the DeMont Boxing Club in Indiana.
Mhm.
Just a small couple guys. Our trainer wrestles as Roach, or as BAD, is like his little golfer gimmick. But
Okay.
yeah, he's been in the business 15 plus years, done a lot of stuff around here, and so he's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's really helped me kind of develop my craft and make sure everything makes sense and kind of fine tune any moves I do. Like with my Germans, he's right on top of me. Hey, make sure we're getting a lock here. Make sure we're lifting this way. We're always communicating. Don't do anything that's gonna, hurt your opponent, because it might be you one day. So if you keep each other safe, it's just gonna make a better match and keep everybody going.
Cool. So, would you say that was probably the best piece of advice he gave you, or was there something else that really kind of sticks out a little bit more that maybe you still use to when it comes to your career to this day?
I think one of the most important things he told me was shake everybody's hand when you get there. Shake
Mm.
everybody's hand when you leave, because I had no clue that was a kind of a written rule.
Mhm.
And so, like, right before one of my first shows, like, hey, make sure you shake everybody's hand when you get there, introduce yourself, shake everybody's hand when you leave. Because essentially we're a brotherhood. So
Mhm.
everybody's working together all the time. You see a lot of the same familiar faces. So make sure that you're being friendly, but you're also being cordial. You're keeping your mouth shut when you need to be. Have your ears open. Kind of listen to your vets, trust your vets, that kind of thing.
that's pretty cool story there, you know, and I hope that's something like that. Someone who's maybe aspiring to be a professional wrestler that's listening to this, or you know, anybody that's looking to get in the business. I've got a friend of mine, Sean, who sat next to me at the show in June. He's actually just started training to become a professional wrestling referee.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sean, if you're listening to this, which seeing you're my friend, I hope you're listening to this. If not, I'm gonna be very mad. Listen to what Chip said, you know, make sure you shake everybody's hand and stuff. But that's really cool. This was when did you make your official like professional wrestling debut?
It was that November, right before all the COVID stuff hit. So yeah,
So 2019.
Yeah, so yeah, a little unfortunate on the timing aspect, but
Mhm.
you know, you got to make do with what you got.
Right. And how long was the time frame from when you started your training to when you had your first match?
It was about 6 months, 7 months. I know with Roach, the way he likes to train, he tends to keep people a little closer to about a year. You know, we only train on Sundays, so kind of only getting that once a day, you know, kind of makes things a little tougher on some people. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to kind of pick up on things pretty quickly. They felt comfortable, you know, being able to throw me in a match. They had an opening, needed someone to fill. And since I got to work Roach in my first match, you know, it made things a little easier too, because he already knew what I could do, kind of knew the things we've been working on at practice. So, you know, we kept it real simple match, kept it real clean. You know, I gave him some pointers post match a little bit, but, you know, from there, it just kind of ball's been rolling and it's been good.
That's awesome. So up to when and now when you started wrestling, when you had your first match in November of 2019, what company was it for?
ACW, Acme Wrestling.
Okay. And now was that basically where you were wrestling primarily until the pandemic hit?
Kind of those that's the guys we train with, and they run shows out of the boxing club, or there's a couple elementaries in the area that they'll run shows out of too. And then actually just kind of through Roach, it got me onto a couple other different shows, kind of in the South Bend, Mishawaka area, and then just kind of ball's been rolling from there.
Great. So so up into basically from the time you started to when the pandemic hit, which we're talking maybe roughly about 4 months, how many matches did you have?
I think I had like 3 or 4. Then everything kind of shut down. I didn't do anything for about 3 months, and then some places start to open up a little bit. You know, they're according to kind of their area and the counties and stuff like that. They had a little different regulations. Did a couple just live stream shows, no audience shows, that kind of thing. But yeah, 3-4 matches. Had about 3 months off, and then was right back at it and just kind of wrestled all through the pandemic.
Nice. So having you know, listening to what you just said there, so you've obviously wrestled in front of nobody, you know, no crowd, and now you know that things are opening up, and you know, like in June you wrestled in front of a crowd. How vital, because this was probably the one thing myself have, you know, having watched, you know, professional, you know, wrestling for over 30 years, that it really took from this pandemic is how vital the crowd, their role is in the overall presentation of pro wrestling. And I just kind of wanted to get your take on that. Like, you know, obviously having been on both sides, you know, where you've wrestled in front of zero crowd, and, you know, wrestling in front of, you know, a crowd such as, you know, back in June for CCW, how different is it for you to, you know, when you're wrestling in front of 0 people versus a crowd?
It's different for sure, especially with how I come out. You know, I come out screaming and yelling, high energy. You know, like I said, it's a party anytime I get out there and get into the ring. So having those fans behind me cheering for me, when I get my chug chants going and they start chugging along,
Yes.
you know, it just amplifies me. It, you know, makes everything what I do I want to make sure it's that much more perfect for them. And so not having that crowd, it's a little rough. You know, I still brought the energy, still brought the high tempo, but not hearing those chip chants or the Chuck chants when I'm kind of down a little bit was a little different, a little weird. But we got through it.
Right. And you talk about wrestling in front of a crowd, and one of the things I kind of want to get into a little bit is you brought quite the cheering section with you to the CCW show. In fact, I literally was sitting next to them, and everybody there was like really cool. The little girls you had sitting there with you and stuff were had me and my friends laughing and stuff like that. So who all did you bring with you to the show? Because I mean, you had probably the biggest fan base out of anybody there.
So my parents were there, my brother, and he brought my nieces with. One of my other nieces was there, another brother of mine. My wife and my stepdaughter were there. My stepdaughter's dad was there as well. So yeah, then I had some buddies that just kind of, hey, we got tickets, we're coming. So I had a couple buddies kind of sprinkled throughout the crowd too. So yeah, it was definitely a good time.
And taking it, I mean, it's so nice to hear that, you had your, brothers and, and family, your parents and everything like that. And what does it mean to you to have the support of like your family and your friends as you do this? Because, some of the guys I've had on in the past really, when they got into this, really didn't have the same kind of reception from their family and friends that you had. It seems like you got when you got into it. So what does it mean to you to have the support of, most importantly, your parents, but obviously, your wife, your brothers, your nieces and all that? What does the support of family and friends mean to you?
It's been absolutely awesome. That my wife at the very least is at about just every one of my shows. With her being pregnant right now, it's a little tough sometimes, but she still shows up. She helps with my merch. My parents, parents can make it. They make it. Actually just did a show recently in Niles, Michigan. My brother drove all the way out there for that.
Wow.
So yeah, it's absolutely awesome. I have 7 other siblings. So yeah, so between all of them, they're constantly showing up for shows. I've done some stuff down closer to Indianapolis, and my sister lives down there. So she's brought, my brother-in-law and her nieces and stuff to it too. So it's been awesome to, kind of look out in the crowd and always see a little chip section at the very least. And then like at CCW or at a little bit of a bigger one, it just makes me that more energetic and that much more to want to make sure I'm doing what I can do at the best of my level.
That's awesome. I had the pleasure of talking with your wife at where you're selling your merch because I was wanting to get a shirt. And again, I think I talked with you. For those of you who weren't at the show and are listening to this, I did not buy a Chip Walker shirt only because he did not have any in my size. So I'm still holding you to that. I'm still holding you to that and stuff. But your wife was a very nice woman and stuff. I enjoyed talking with her and stuff. And congratulations on the upcoming Bundle of Joy. If you don't mind me asking, when's the baby due?
End of August.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
So you're almost there. Are you so in end of August, we'll kind of just do a little bit of foreshadowing. Will you be at the CCW show in August?
That's the plan. So as long as because the baby's supposed to be due the following weekend. So as long as he stays in there, I'll be at CCW for sure.
Sweet. And that so once you so let me ask you this. What when the pandemic hit and you basically, weren't wrestling or you were going, like you said, 3 months in between shows, what were you doing in the meantime?
Just trying to work out, do what I can. Kind of took that time, studied a lot of like older matches, stuff from 80s, like New Japan, things like that. Just kind of a lot of Gary Albright videos. Thanks to John on that one too. He sent me a lot of Gary Albright stuff to watch, and then it just put me down. John, so
when it comes to like, looking for matches or recommendations, and anybody that's friends with, that's listening to this, that's friends with John Bullard on Facebook, if you want some recommendations for like a particular wrestler, or like if you want, John's an amazing resource. He's recommended some really good stuff to me in the past. So
yeah, he's got a wealth of knowledge and quite a collection of matches for anyone to watch if they're interested. So yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. So actually, so when the so you mentioned Gary Albright. What were in like watching old matches from the '80s and stuff? What were some of like the matches that like? Oh, okay. I'll ask you this: what would you say if you had to rate like maybe your top 1, 2, or just your top like favorite matches of all time? What would they be and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I'd have to put Shawn and Razor up there, just because I
Okay.
like the ladder match. Like I remember watching that as a kid and just being blown away, and kind of just watching that and going,
Now
yeah,
you're talking about the
that's
one from WrestleMania 10, correct?
yes.
Okay. Because a lot of
Yeah,
people may not realize they actually had a second ladder match as well too. So
yeah, no, yeah, WrestleMania 10 there.
Mhm.
Yeah, just kind of the story they told and everything, even from like just their entrances, all the way through the match. It was just, it's one of those ones that stuck out all in my memory and something I just like to watch for fun sometimes.
yeah.
Um, I watched Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar quite a bit. I feel like any match with them was always good.
Yes.
Just the technical style. Um, yeah, I find myself going back to like a lot of Dean Malenko stuff. Maybe not
Okay.
necessarily a particular match there, but him with like Eddie or something, or maybe like Rey Mysterio. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
just the stuff that they could do in the chain wrestling aspects of the thing was always kind of cool to see. And then my trainer Roach, he recommends Quackenbush quite a bit, so I watch
Okay.
some of his stuff too, and just kind of the things they do and the chaining he can do with certain people. Um, so I don't know if it's necessarily particular matches as it is like just people and their styles and
Mhm.
kind of how they work and operate.
Yeah, that's fair enough and stuff. I liked how you mentioned, Dean Malenko is another one who I think's criminally underrated when it comes to, the great wrestlers. Because you mentioned, Malenko, with the stuff with Eddie. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the stuff they did in ECW.
Yes.
The stuff he did with Mysterio and WCW, and it's just Malenko was one of those guys you could really look back and say if he had a bad match, it may have been one out of like 1,000 or something like that. It seemed like every time he went out there, he put on a hell of a match. So
exactly. I don't watch him for his promo work, but his in ring ability, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he was never, but he did, in the grand scheme of things, he really didn't need that because he was one of those guys that let his in ring work do the talking.
Exactly.
And that's so we talk about like gimmicks and things and that nature, and obviously gimmicks are a big part of every professional wrestler. And I kind of want to get a little bit of a backstory on yours because you mentioned you're very big on the suplexes, and like I said, John, who I reference a lot in here. Again, John's a really good friend of mine and stuff, and he told me about you. He mentioned that you were he didn't call you the human suplex machine a la Taz, but he said you were known for your suplexes. And, having watched you, I definitely can see why. But I want to ask how did the Manimal come about?
So since my gimmick is, the frat boy kind of guy, every frat boy's got a nickname of some sort. So I was just kind of just tossing things around one day, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to be like the animal. That's kind of basic, or like the man, or I was just kind of pinballing things, and I just like the Manimal. All right, and then actually, one of my older brothers was like, yeah, that was the nickname I was gave my guys at wrestling games, so maybe that's why I thought it good. I was like, that could be why as well, but so that's just kind of spitballing some things, and that's what we landed on.
And with your you have that and that's a really cool story. Was there anybody in terms of say like a pro wrestler or even like a movie character from a movie, say like Old School or Animal House or something, or Revenge of the Nerds? Was there anybody in particular that like you wanted to like model your character after?
So it's kind of all three of those actually.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the Belushi meets Will Smith meets Ogre, but like a good guy Ogre, So kind of
You
all
mean
three
Will
of those.
Ferrell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, what I say? What I say? Will
You
Smith?
said Will Smith.
Oh, no, yeah, Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell.
Yeah. So So okay. So the Manimal, for those of you who want to recap, the Manimal is part Ogre, part Bluto Blutarsky, and part Will Ferrell. So that is a nice hodgepodge of guys there and stuff. So. And I brought those movies up because they're some of my favorites. Revenge of the Nerds is one of my all-time favorite comedies and stuff. So, yeah, so it's really cool that I love the fact that your character's got a little bit of an ogre influence, and I think my fandom of you just went up a little bit just for that alone. So.
Oh, I appreciate that.
No problem. So, yeah, so we're kind of, getting up there and stuff, So what was it like for you once you started going to doing shows? And like fans were, were able to come back. I mean, obviously, you might have, there were small crowds and stuff because, obviously COVID restrictions and capacity limitations, limited it. But what did it mean to you, like after, coming back from the pandemic and wrestling your first show in front of fans again?
It was awesome. It was awesome. Just to get that little pop when my music comes, when my music hits, there's usually a little buzz going already because they know, the party's coming. But being able to come out of that curtain and just, like I said, I hoot and holler when I come out and the fans just screaming with me there. A lot of them call me the root beer guy now too. So, hey, that's okay with me. But they get excited. Little kids run up, root beer, so. Yeah, that was definitely missed during the pandemic times there.
So was the root beer thing, because I like that when you came out with the 6-pack, I believe it was A&W, and you were passing it out to the crowd and stuff. I don't drink soda, so I'm glad you didn't offer me one because I didn't want to be that guy that said no, I'm good and stuff. But how did that come into the equation?
So kind of goes back to being the frat boy. Frat boys are always partying, drinking, that kind of thing. And so since most of the shows, are family friendly, it was like, well, I can't necessarily come out with beer. So what would be the alternative? Root beer. So, I start calling them my root brewskis. And I come out and most of the times I have the can signed. Sometimes I don't. So it's kind of, 50-50. You just got to pay attention if you're lucky enough to get a Manimal root brewski, see if it's signed or not. So it kind of goes from there.
So okay, so now I want to get into your CCW because pretty much that's where we're getting to now and stuff. And I always like to ask because the majority of the guys that I've had on the show, have worked or currently work, for John with CCW, and I always like to ask, how that came about. So I'll ask you that. How did CCW come into the equation?
So I saw a flyer at a local Michigan City restaurant. Messaged a couple of my buddies, hey, do you guys know anything about this? One of them said, hey, I think Michael Allen runs it. So I actually reached out to Michael Allen. He goes, no, I don't really, I help with it. I do, he's kind of good backbone and foundation of CCW. So he got me in touch with John, and then John said, hey, send me what you got. And just kind of sent my stuff, my resume, some video. I didn't have much video at the time, but apparently it was enough for it that he liked what he saw. So just got connected from there. Came out to the first CCW show, helped out in any way I could. Help set the ring up, take it down, that kind of thing. And so, just kind of trying to pay my dues where I can and, make sure I'm doing kind of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Awesome. And another question I like to ask my guests that have, done work with CCW, what's it like working for John?
It was awesome. It was awesome. Everything he does has a purpose. He wants to not just put product and content out there, but he wants it to be the best product and the best content possible. So everything he talks about, everything he goes over with me, there's always a reasoning behind it. It's always a purpose behind it. And it was easy for me to trust. Hey, this is what he's saying to go with. Let's do it. He's got such a good vision for CCW and what he wants it to be. And I think where it's going is kind of right on line of what he wants CCW to become. I mean, I know he puts in a lot of hours, a lot of thankless moments, and I can only thank him so much, and I feel like it's not even enough. So he's been awesome to work with, awesome to work for, and I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome. Yeah. I always make sure to go out of my way. Like I said, I talk to John a lot on Facebook, just about the show and just stuff in general. And he also will always, throughout the shows, I've been to both, he's been, coming over to me, or I'll go walk over to him and he'll, ask me what I'm thinking of the show, and I tell him, how I feel, what I like, and everything. And he really goes out of his way, I think, not only to make sure he takes care of you guys, but he also goes out of his way to take care of the fans, whether it's, like sending out the letters when people buy their tickets, or like with me and, my friend Brad and my friend Sean and the other regulars that are there. He goes out of his way to make, everyone feel important. He's told me on numerous times he considers me to be part of the crew, and it's just he goes out of his way to make me feel and make, I think, a lot of the fans feel, so good about coming to the show. It's this, whatever he does, it makes us want to support him that much more. And it seems like it's the same kind of vibe I get from the wrestlers when we start talking about John. It's like the kind of guy he is. He's that kind of boss that he's so good at what he does. It's like the people he has working for him, it makes them want to work even harder.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, like I said, that first show I was there, I'm just kind of there helping out, and I couldn't tell you how many times I saw him at the door greeting people, helping people to their seats. There was times I was walking people to the seats and he'd just take over just to have a conversation with them and introduce himself, and having kind of that interaction with the fans. Like you said, it makes people want to support him that much more, because now they're involved too. They're invested. They're just as much part of the show as we are, as the refs are, as anyone do production stuff. So it's been awesome to see that.
Yeah, and the fun little story here. My first encounter with John at the first show, we were I just gotten there and I met my friend Brad there, and we were getting in line and he saw us and he came right over to us and gave us a hug and said thanks for coming, thank you for everything you do for me, because awesome. Brad and I we go out of our way to do a lot of, I guess, promotion for him, and we try to help get the word out there, because again, we know how hard he works at wanting to make this product succeed, and that. So again, I feel as a responsibility and a privilege to kind of be able to do what I can to help him out with that. So, and it's great to see he's so genuine. He's so appreciative of everything that you guys do, that the fans do, that everything that goes into the show. It's just so nice to see that. And it's something you really don't see, I think, in a lot of, promotions out there with, the promoters.
Exactly. Yeah. And his ears are always opening to, good advice, bad advice, positive, negative. And he's constantly working to make sure, again, that he's putting out the best product that he possibly can, putting the right people in the right spots. And yeah, he takes all the criticism, like I said, good or bad, and he makes it all end up being good at the end of the day.
Right. So I want to bring up a little clip here, because we're going to just show a little clip here about the match graphic that you had at your show, and I want you to talk a little bit about your match here. So we're going to go into this here real quick, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so there you had your opponent at the show was Chris Owens. Tell me a little bit about that match. How did it go for you? What was Chris like to work with? And were you both pretty happy with what you went out there and did?
Yeah, so I've worked Chris a couple times. I think like 2 or 3 times before that. So we had a little bit of understanding of kind of what each one of us like to do, kind of how we both operate in the ring. Chris is just getting better each time he steps in that ring. And so it kind of going in, we had some ideas what we wanted to do, kind of what story we're trying to tell. I think overall the match went really well. I think we told a good story. We hit a couple flashy spots each, but I mean, for the most part, it was just a good technical, just really sound performance from him and myself. So I thought it went well.
Right. Then after the match, you were interrupted, I guess you could say unceremoniously, depending on how you look at it, by the man that you were originally supposed to go up against at the show here and his faction, the Chicago Connection. So tell me about what that was like. Like, you just finished your matchup against Chris Owens, with the win, and then all of a sudden you see Jonathan Hudson hitting the ring. What did you think of what he had to say?
I think they couldn't even let me celebrate. I mean, that's like the definition of a party pooper right there. Like, it's a big win, trying to celebrate with, the fans, and here they come. But yeah, it was, I'm excited. One of these days, I might be able to get in that ring with Mr. 3%, Jonathan Hudson himself, and we are going to tear that house down. We might end up killing each other before we do it, but, I think we're both excited and we're both ready to get after one another. So when that time comes, that's not going to be one you want to miss.
Right. And hopefully, because I believe he just recently announced that he's cleared. So hopefully that happens coming up here in August. So a couple more questions here before I let you go. I wanted to give you a chance. I always like to do a little bit of a, fantasy booking towards the end of my interviews, kind of open it up, have a little bit more fun and stuff. So I want to ask you, if you could book yourself against any wrestler, living or dead, who would it be? Would there be any stipulations to the match, and where would you want to have that match be held at?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like an Iron Man match with Kurt Angle would be awesome. Just, we suplexing each other, just out wrestling each other, hold for hold and just chaining all day. I think that would be an awesome match. So definitely something to test our cardios and, see what we could do. Like I said, just always a big fan of his. Plus with his amateur style, I think our styles would clash very well. We go head to head, and I think that would be awesome. And I think maybe like an outdoor WrestleMania of some sort. Of course, you want all the big fans there, all the outdoors, the fireworks. You want all the party, the glitz and the glam.
So you mentioned the word party. So, and for those that didn't get a chance to go to the show, or hasn't seen you in action, you come out to Party Hard by Andrew WK, which you and I had a little bit of a conversation about. I love that song.
Yes.
What went into the process of going through music and then you settling on this song to be your theme?
So I think I was just tossing a lot of stuff around. I wanted something kind of in your face, upbeat, like you hear that and you can't help but want to party.
Right.
So some like LMFAO stuff kind of got thrown out there. I was like, maybe not quite the vibe. And then, talking with Roach, he was mentioning some stuff. And then I think like I came across just kind of on the loop of YouTube stuff, Andrew WK stuff came up. And so I had one of his songs and he's like, well, what about, Party Hard? And I was like, oh yeah, we were kind of tossing things around and, it landed on what we landed on.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's just, I think that song. Also, I feel like a lot of people don't quite maybe grasp the concept of how vital, that song is to the overall presentation to the character. I mean, you've got, Party Hard for you. You've got, also Sprague Zarathustra, the theme for 2001 for Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. You've got, The Game by Triple H. You've got, Kurt Angle's Metal Song. I mean, it's just, tell me how vital do you feel like when it comes to a theme song how essential the right theme song is for a character?
I feel like that theme song kind of sets the tone. So I guess depending on, what your gimmick is, what you're trying to portray, like for me, it's every time I step foot in that ring, it's a party. I take it serious, but it's a party. And so for me, I want something that like hits you in the face right away, something you hear and they're like, we know who's coming out. Like I said, with Triple H, like anytime you hear the time to play the game, you know exactly what you know exactly what you're in for. And so, I think the music's kind of like that first introduction. Like, if you don't have necessarily the right music when you come out, the fans might not grasp it, and they might be like, this guy's okay. But if you come out with something that fits your gimmick perfectly, you're playing into the music just as much as that music plays into you. I think that's another way just to bring those fans in. And, like I said, they hear my music now. They know who's coming out. It's no secret anymore. And they're just as excited before I even get out there. And
Right.
when I come out, they're even more excited all of a sudden. So I think, that music is key to kind of a good character and good character development and kind of helping you get over as well.
Awesome. So last thing here before I let you go, usually I like to conclude every interview by letting my guests get some time, as much time as they need, to plug any upcoming shows and also how people can reach you on social media, which I'll pull that back up here on the banner and stuff. So, and then also merchandise, because I know that's always big with the wrestlers there. So this is your time, Chip, to tell my audience about any upcoming shows you have, how people can reach you, which, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually see that on the scrolling across the bottom of the screen, as well as how people can get your a hold of your merchandise.
Yeah, so on Facebook, just search up Chip Walker. You'll find me on there. And then on Instagram, it's at the Party Manimal. If you want any kind of merch, just feel free to message me. I don't have any specific links or anything for merch yet. So we're still always revamping and finding new ideas for new merch and things like that. So if you're interested, we got t-shirts right now. We got koozies. There's pictures. We got some Valley Party towels as well. So just hit me up for those. We can always work out any kind of deals or shipping, all that kind of stuff. So, if you're interested in merch, just hit me up on socials. Upcoming shows this weekend on Saturday. I'll be over in South Bend at RCW for their cancer benefit show. So I'm taking on Eric Dillinger there, who is he's making names for himself all throughout the Midwest. So that's going to be an awesome match. And then on the 30th, on that Friday night, doing a show in Bourbon, Indiana at WTF in a street fight. Again, taking on Eric Dillinger. A little bit of a grudge match there. They're doing a 3 Rings of Doom show. So they're going to have 3 rings all set up at one time. I know last year they had 2 rings that were normal, and then the 3rd ring had a cage around it.
Wow.
Not sure if that's the same plan for this year, but yeah, he'll have all 3 rings set up. And so I'm taking on Eric Dillinger in a street fight there. Then after that, it's CCW. And we're just kind of moving forward from there. Yeah, that's about all I got booked right now.
Awesome. Well, definitely appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with your show coming up this weekend, as well as what you got coming up at the end of the month. And then obviously the CCW show, which barring anything unforeseen, I will be there, probably my usual spot. So
perfect.
Yes, I will definitely be looking forward to chatting with you there. But again, Chip, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this with me. And I'll see you here in a little over a month.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, and thank you again for the opportunity and everything that you've been doing, just promoting and getting the word out there for us.
Definitely, man. I consider you guys all to be friends, and I've been told by a lot of the guys and John I'm part of the team, so I'm just like it's like the late Luke Harper once said, I'm a team player.
There you go.
So, all right, man, have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, wrestling fans of all ages, this is gregarious Greg Hansen, and you're listening to Whaddya Say with DDJ on the Johners Podcasting Network. Enjoy.
Thanks again to Chip Walker for taking some time out of his day to have a chat with me. I hope everyone enjoyed this show as much as I enjoyed doing the interview. Don't forget to check out Chip coming up here at a couple of shows. This first one will have already happened by the time this show drops, but I'm still going to definitely give it some love. It's for Revolution Championship Wrestling presents Live Pro Wrestling. It's the 14th Annual Slam Cancer Benefit Show. It happened on Saturday, July 17th at the Goodson Event Center located at 1905 Goodson Court in South Bend, Indiana. Coming up on July 30th for live pro wrestling, they present 3 Rings of Doom. It's at the Bourbon Park Pavilion at 417 Sunset Drive in Bourbon, Indiana. Tickets are available. Front row seats are $20. Second row seats are $15, and then general admission seats are $10. And then last but not least, definitely come to check out Chip in action at for Chicagoland Championship Wrestling as they present Worlds Collide on Saturday night, August 21st. Tickets are $10 or a family 4-pack for $30. It's located at the American Legion 451 in Michigan City, Indiana. Address is 121 Squiat Legion Avenue, and that's SKWIAT. The flyers are coming across the screen here as we speak, as well as the show information will be on the episode descriptions, and if you download listening to this on an audio platform. You can also reach out to Chip on social media at Chip Walker on Facebook and at the Party Manimal on Instagram. And if you're interested in supporting Chip by buying a t-shirt, just reach out to him via social media and he will definitely hook you up. Well, that's all the time I have this week for this episode of What Do You Say with DDJ, and I'll see you in another week with episode 51. I want to take the time to thank everyone for listening, and I'll see you in a week. Bye.
Hey there, it's DDJ from What Do You Say with DDJ, and coming up on Saturday, July 24th from noon to 2 p.m., AEW superstar Christopher Daniels will be doing an autograph signing at the Top Shelf Sport Cards located at 359 South Randall Road in Elgin, Illinois. Go to TopShelfBreaks.com and check them out on Facebook to get all of the ticket information.
Here at Toiletside Wrestling Talk, we interview the top wrestling stars on the independent wrestling circuit with questions including, who exposed you to wrestling? Were you nervous the night before your first day of training? Did your family support your wrestling dream? Are you a witch? For $700,000, would you legally marry a horse? Have you ever cried from a Vin Diesel movie? These questions and much more on Toiletside Wrestling Talk.